Domestic violence takes a big proportion of the family challenges. However, most of the violence in the home that have been researched has mostly been focusing on women and children. But it has been found out that men also face violence in their homes, and these forms may include physical, sexual, and psychological domestic violence. In this, we'll be talking about the forms, causes, and effects of domestic violence against men, as opposed to a better studied area, domestic violence against women. This study was driven by evidence from empirical studies conducted elsewhere in the world that point to the fact that men are equally as likely as women to suffer from domestic violence. It might not be easy to recognize domestic violence against men. Early in the relationship, your partner might seem attentive, generous, and protective in ways that later turn out to be controlling and frightening. Initially, the abuse might appear as isolated incidents. Your partner might apologize and promise not to abuse you again. Domestic violence can leave you depressed and anxious, and can increase your risk of having a drug or alcohol problem. Because men are traditionally thought to be physically stronger than women. Is it right to force men to bear pain and torture without complaining just to protect their masculinity?
I'm going to be talking about how exactly domestic violence will have an impact when it comes to the work life of the victim or men in this case. Although domestic violence may originate at home, it can spill over at workplace as well, as it affects their productivity. This happens, for example, when abusive partners follow their victims to their place of work, use work-related phone or computer technology to intimidate, harass, or to control them, to even prevent them from leaving the household just to go to work. Domestic violence can also cause serious stress and trauma, which may affect the victim. Spillover can also go from work to home when certain workplace environments, such as those that are violent or dangerous, condition workers to violence, making it more likely that they will commit violence at home. The impact of domestic violence on workers, especially physically and mentally, is devastating, and in extreme expression can result in loss of life. This can also lead to economic dependence of the victim, which may affect the ability to leave an abusive partner or to enter, remain, or progress in the labor market.
In this, we will be talking about the forms, causes, and effects of domestic violence against men. So, the key findings of the study revealed that domestic violence against men manifests in various forms, namely physical violence, sexual, psychological, and verbal abuse, of whom 43% have experienced sexual or physical violence, which is much more likely to occur in bedrooms, living room, and even in public places. The most casual factors for the growing cases of domestic violence against men include, but not limited to, deterioration of morals, changing values among women, women emancipation and copying of Western cultures, and then changing role of women, extramarital affairs, failure of men to provide for their own families, and then comes casual relationships, influence of alcohol and drugs. The study found out that mitigation measure against domestic violence should start by a well-defined understanding of what the problem is and how it impacts on couples and in marital relationships. So now we will see the statistics.
So as per the stats data, the survey was conducted in which out of 1,000 married men in the age group of 21 to 49 were interviewed. In that interview, we came to know that 52.4% of men experience gender-based violence. Out of which 1,000 males of 51.5% experience violence at the hands of their wives only, that is with the intimate partners as well, and 10.5% in that too in the last 12 months. The most common spouse violence was emotional, and followed by physical violence, which is 6%. Only in 1/10 case of physical assaults was severe, and 40% of them reported having been abused or maltreated as children. And the most horrifying fact is that India wives rank 3rd in the world in beating their husbands, followed by Egypt and United Kingdom, which ranks in the first and second. But unfortunately, there is no clause or legislation that makes women responsible for the domestic abuse. Rather, there is accountable for cruelty to his wife. According to section 498, the Indian Penal Code in 1860, the men are accountable for the Cruelty Act. There is no way such that the women are reason for the domestic violence against a man. This is a bitter truth. So now let us see the concluding part.
dealing with this condemned topic in an open and supportive way is a mandatory essential to identify victims of domestic violence in routine clinical practice. To this end, more training measures for physicians should be made available in others to raise awareness of the subject. Hospital staff, in particular, have a key role in setting the course and should thus be supported by target training measures. Doctors from all the specialists from an interface between medical care, documentation of findings, and the wider supportive systems. Numerous recommendations exist from conducting a forensic medical examination and relevant documentation of finding in victims of violence. On this basis, the documents of injuries of men who are victims of domestic violence in medical practice should not be pose any problem. Thank you.